morning. So should I go ahead and get started, do you think? And we can't conduct business without a quorum, but we can conduct the meeting.
Yes.
All right, well, everyone, for those on the line, I welcome you to the November 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Management Labor Advisory Committee meeting, or MLAC, and I am Patrick Priest, the chair for the Management Caucus. I know my fellow co-chair for the Labor Caucus, Scott Strickland, is not able to attend today, as is Sarah Beckwall on my caucus. But other than that, I guess I will turn it over to our administrator, Terry, to do a roll call to make sure if we have a quorum or not.
Okay, Matt Calzia. I'm sorry, did I say your name wrong? Matt?
Yep, you got it.
Okay, great. And Marcy Grail is absent today, co-chair.
Okay.
Sarah Merrick.
Good morning.
Margaret.
I'm here.
Ryan Hearn. Stacy Llewellyn. Okay, maybe she'll be joining us a little later. John McKenzie. Co-chair Priest is here, and Director Stolpe will be joining us in a little bit. He has a conflict right now. So again, we don't have a quorum, but go ahead, Patrick.
All right, well,
apologies, Stacy Llewellyn is here. Sorry.
Oh, good. Okay. Great.
all right, I think we have a quorum then. Is that official that we have a quorum?
Yes.
All right. Well, that is wonderful news. Welcome, everyone. And as we do each meeting, I'll go ahead and start by reading the affirmation just to center us before we begin our work. I want to thank everyone for their time, effort, and participation in the work before us today. I want to recognize that it is very difficult and important work, and I appreciate and value the perspectives and professionalism that everyone brings here today. Thank you. I appreciate each one of you a little more today since it's a lightly attended meeting, but we have a great bit of information. But before that, before I get to the regular agenda, I would like to start with public comment. Is there any public comment? I don't think we know of any in advance, but I just ask those signed in if they have any public comment to please speak up. And I don't see any hands raised either, so I will proceed. The next item on the agenda, which we're able to do, is to review and approve the minutes of the September 7th and October 5th MLAC meetings. Is there any discussion or questions or comments regarding those minutes? All right, hearing none, I would be looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
I move to approve the minutes. This is Matt Calzia.
Thank you, Matt. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
I think it's Sarah Merrick that seconded. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, with a motion and a second, is there any discussion? I'm hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of the September 7th and October 5th meetings, please say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. If there are any opposed, please say aye as well. Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, with that, we move into our department updates, and I will turn it over to our administrator to walk us through the department's updates.
Great. We're going to start with the Workers' Compensation Board. We have the staff attorney, Sarah Larson, if she has any updates. Oh, we can't hear you, Sarah.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah, but it's not, it's pretty faint. Yeah.
That helps.
Let me get up here. Our state server is having issues today, so it may be that it's not coming through very well. Okay.
Well, fortunately for you guys, we don't have any updates at the board right now. And so I'm just sitting in for Lauren today, and I'm happy to be here. And that's all that the board has right now.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, on the
Okay,
good news, Sarah, I heard you loud and clear as you made that update. So thank you for that.
Great.
Were there any questions, on something maybe that is not on the agenda from anyone on the committee? Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick update for the Workers' Compensation Division on some rule updates. House Bill 3412, the PA is allowed to be attending physicians for 180 days instead of 60 days. And House Bill 2696, the licensing requirement for sign language interpreters in a medical setting. Workers' Compensation Division proposed rule changes to Division 009, 010, and 015. And we held the hearing on October 24th, and the deadline to submit testimony was October 31st. We expect to publish the permanent rules by mid-November, and they will become effective on January 1st, 2024. Workers' Compensation Division is planning to adopt temporary rules, the 009 rules, also effective January 1st, 2024. The proposal of these temporary rules is to adopt new billing codes for medical providers in line with most commercial insurers. ORS 656.248 requires Workers' Compensation Division to update fee schedules annually. Generally, when we open not just the 009 rules, the medical fee and payment, but also the 010 rules, medical services, and the 015 managed care organization rules annually. The Stakeholder Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for November 30th, and we will send out an agenda 1 to 2 weeks prior to the meeting. All MLAC members will receive a copy of the agenda via email. Also, an email will go out on Gov Delivery for all stakeholders regarding these rulemaking meetings. WCD hopes to publish proposed rules by the end of December and have tentatively scheduled a hearing for January 23rd. We expect these rules to be effective April 1st, 2024. So before I move forward, are there any questions on the 009s, 010s, or 015s? Okay, so we are also working on the 060s, which is claim administration, and the 120s, which is vocational assistance to injured workers. So WCD received suggestions from stakeholders to issues related to the 60s and 120s, and several stakeholders showed interest in participating in rulemaking advisory committees. Marie will, rules coordinator, will be reaching out to the stakeholders as we start the rulemaking process in the coming months after the 2024 short session. Are there any questions about those rules? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the MLAC video project. Angela was hoping to have a draft of the video today, but she wasn't able to get it completed. She has the recorded voiceover and the animation about a third done at this time, but she'll have a draft to MLAC next week. So I'm not sure if I can send the video because the file's big, so it may be the December meeting that we review the video. So yay, we're getting there. I'm so excited about that. Let's see, go on. So the last thing I want to talk about, I'm going to ask Teresa to come up now because I haven't received any formal legislative concept requests, but Teresa's going to talk a little bit about legislative concepts and the process with MLAC, because this is my first time with MLAC and legislative concepts. So you have the floor.
Thank you, Terry. Good morning, Teresa Van Winkle, Legislative Director at DCBS. So in regards to the upcoming 2024 session, Terry, I think with about a week and a half ago or so, sent out through the MLAC distribution list via Gov Delivery the call for legislative concepts to be considered by MLAC. So if individuals are interested in having the review, to contact Terry and to get that placed upon the work plan for agenda. So this is kind of the time of, I guess, the pre-session process in which we're aware of some potential concepts. We do know of one 2024 bill that will be on the hopper. I think once we get to talk to, Terry reaches out to the proponents, that should be in front of you. There. Others we will see maybe December, more likely January. Next, for Thursday is the deadline for legislators and as individual members and committees to turn in their requests to Legislative Council for ideas to be drafted. So the turnaround time will be between December, January. There is a deadline of January 8th for those concepts to come back and such. What we've done in the past, and I can work with Terry on this, I think a few of you may have seen this. We produced a calendar that incorporated the legislative deadlines for the session and incorporated the slated times for MLAC to meet during that period of time as well. So that way you had the deadlines for session and also your meeting schedule together on that. Stepping back to the concepts, I think one of the things we'll do, we'll also hopefully between next week with interim legislative hearings and January's interim legislative hearings, we should be able to have a sense of what is floating out there. There may be one or two that slip through the cracks and we won't know about them until opening day when we get to see the majority of the bills. But I just know that I'm doing my due diligence, and Terry is as well, in getting as much information to you all in advance so you have ample time for review and questions and feedback. I hope that was not as hopefully clear the mud.
Yeah, no, it was, I really appreciate that. I know that I personally felt a little like confused as to time frame. So thank you. That was very clear and I appreciate the efforts.
Yeah, and I think what I can do is I can work with Terry and get the first set. I know the dates between now and mid-January. We don't have the deadlines for legislative committees during session itself. So we can probably just send a first round of the calendar and then do an updated calendar once we know those deadlines as well.
Well, I don't know. Does anybody have any comments, questions? I don't hear of any. So thank you very much, Teresa. It's nice to see you.
Okay, Co-Chair, that's everything for the division.
This is Kathleen calling on a recorded line with your contact center. I have a Janella from Preferred Capital Funding wishing to speak with you. May I transfer?
Yeah, that would be fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Transferring now. You are connected. Thank you.
Hi, this is Giovanna Patrick.
Hi, Ms. Patrick. This is Janella with Preferred Capital. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Giovanna, you're
Yeah.
not muted.
Doing well as well. Thank you. Calling in regards to your client, Rosie Hong Win. I believe we spoke and had that conference call with the
Terry, are you able
translator
to
about a
mute
week ago.
We're doing, yeah,
It
we're
looks
working on
like
it
our
right now.
underwriters were able to approve her for $1,000. I don't know.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I appreciate you being able to do All right, well, moving on, the next item on the agenda is our work plan update. And the work plan has been included in the materials that were distributed to the committee. I don't know if anyone has any general comments on it or questions or additions. Hearing none, I believe that we do have a website tour planned today.
Yes. And I did just want to bring to your attention, I did update the work plan after the last meeting because there were a few things that we've been working on. We did have the Oregon Institute of Occupational Health and Sciences. They presented at the last meeting, and we have had Lauren with the board presenting their they presented their quarterly report, as well as she's been presenting recent court cases. The other thing I put on there was the firefighter cancer presumption. We're expecting a NIOSH report sometime next year, so I added that as well. So those were other topics that is on the back of the table, not the list of topics. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. So what I talked to the co-chairs about was providing a workers' compensation division tour of our website. And this would be under topic workers' access to and understandability of information regarding workers' compensation. So let's see. So what I'd like to do now is just kind of share some information about the workers' compensation website. And you all may be familiar with our website, but as we look through the task, we had been asked to put QR codes on some of this information, and we kind of needed a little more direction. So I'm hoping through this conversation, and please, if you have questions, please ask as we're moving along. You can help direct the division into where we should be putting QR codes, if we need QR codes, or maybe we don't need QR codes. I'm not quite sure. So Baba, could you go to report an injury and filing a claim under workers, please? So if you're an injured worker, you can go to our website under workers, and this is what reporting an injury and filing a claim would look like. You click on that tab, and it tells you you need to fill out an 801, and you click on that link, it takes you straight to an 801. Or if you don't fill out the 801 and you go to the doctor after your injury, the doctor should fill out an 827. You click on that link, it takes you to an 827. So it really tells you what you need to do as an injured worker. Just in case I miss anything. Sally's going to come up here in case I miss anything along the way. And then the next link tells you that you really shouldn't file with your employer, or what happens after you've left the employer, or if you're no longer employed with the business and you were injured on the job, who you need to contact and where you need to go. Also on the right side, it gives you the information for the Workers' Compensation Division, the email, and always the Ombudsman Office for Oregon Workers. So this, Bobby, can you go back to the other page, please? This is under the Workers tab under reporting injury and filing a claim. The other thing it gives you, we're going to go to managed care now, is if you're enrolled in an MCO, it tells you, what is a managed care organization? What happens if you're enrolled in an MCO? And then the list of the different MCOs, frequently asked questions, and what medical case management is. So again, all the resources are on the side if you need help. The Ombudsman, how to contact the division. Okay, Baba, can you go back to the next one? The next one under the workers is getting paid for time loss if you're off if you miss more than 3 days as an injured worker. So this kind of walks you through the process of, what happens if you're off and, what needs to be done. This is kind of self-explanatory. You guys have any questions? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so this is related. Is there anything else I should do? Okay. And then the last one under workers is returning to work. So this one has different programs that the division offers. If you're not able to go back to your job, the preferred worker program, vocational assistance. Again, it has resources on the right side if you need to contact the division or if you need to contact the Ombuds Office for Oregon Workers. Okay. The next tab that I'm going to take you through is employers. So ordering compliance posters, if you click on that link, this one takes you to if you need to order injured on the job. So that's, you just go in, you can order it in English or Spanish, fill out the information. You can also contact the employer compliance unit. If you have any questions, it'll send you the posters that you need to post on the job. Let's go back, Baba. The next one is return to work programs for employers. It again shares the information. There's also a short video. Can you scroll down a little further, Baba? That'll tell you about the preferred worker program. We're not going to show the video right now. You're welcome to look at it anytime that you have time. The other two tabs we're not going to go through, but I just wanted to show them to you. There's self-insurance and the worker leasing program. So if you know, you can look through those as well. And then the other two tabs we're not going to go through is industry services and resources. Then I wanted to move on to the publications because these are really good resources. So the first one that we have, and let me just say, this is in brochure format, but we can change it to a flyer format. I did talk with communications and they said that would be easy to do. So this one is 40 pages long and it's for injured workers. Can you scroll down to the first page, Baba? Sorry, the second page. I forgot this in brochure. So this is for the injured worker. It helps them, it gives them their insurer name, the phone number, insurer representative, their claim number, the date of injury, the attending physician, and the employer's name. So they can fill this out and keep this with them at all times. This is a really good resource for somebody that's been injured on the job. Again, it's 40 pages long in the brochure format. But again, we can make it into a flyer format if you think it would be easier for injured workers to view this in a flyer format versus a brochure format. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is employers' responsibility under work comp claims. This is for employers, and this is the flyer format. So this is a really good resource that is available for employers to help with what happens when a work comp claim. Right there is the information for the benefit consultant unit. They can call them, email them. They'll get back to them as quickly as possible. It's just a one-page flyer. Answers any questions that the employer may have. Baba, can we go to the my claim is non-disabling? What does that mean? Okay, so this is for injured workers. If their claim is non-disabling, sometimes people don't understand what that means. So this explains, you know, what happens if your claim is non-disabling? What does that mean? And just again goes through it. This is a two-pit back and front flyer. Talks about, you know, what is happening. Gives the phone numbers to the division, the appellate review, the benefit consultation unit. So again, just lots of information for the injured worker. The next brochure that we're going to look at is the preferred worker fact sheet. So this talks about return to work and who is eligible, workers, employers, you know, what kind of help they can get, the opportunities that, you know, the cost involved, not cost for the workers, but let's see, let me think of a better way to say that. How uh, sorry,
Incentives from employers.
incentives for the employers. Thank you, Sally. That's why I asked her to sit up here. So that they could get their injured worker back to work. So again, this is another good resource for employers and workers. The next publication is the claim closure fact sheet. This is really important for people to understand what's happening when a person is medically stationary and what happens during the claim closure process. What do you need to know now that your claim is closed? Also, the Ombudsman's Office is working on tutorials for workers for the Ombudsman's Office as well. I just got a text from Barb. Thank you, Barb. So, and here is Barb's number on here as well, the Ombudsman for Oregon Workers. So lots of resources. I'm moving through this very quickly. So if I'm moving too fast, please let me know. The last flyer that I wanted to share with you, this is again in brochure format and it's 32 pages long, is Oregon Workers Compensation Frequently Asked Questions. So this is a good one for anyone, workers or employers. It has all kinds of information, questions that we've been asked. The one thing I did want to share is I did talk with communications and ask them about the most popular publications. And these were the 6 top publications that people are clicking on our website or requesting publications. So I thought it was good to share these 6 publications. So with that, co-chair, what is MLAC's thoughts around targeted communication to employers and workers? What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'll open it up to the committee. I have a couple of I want to defer to those that are attending if they have any questions or comments or thoughts.
I'd like the idea of the more of the program format than the short one, having recently just gone through injured worker stuff. Those smaller ones that are many pages long make it difficult to read through, where it's less overwhelming, I think, with a larger frame to look at.
I agree having, oh, I apologize, Patrick.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Stacy.
I was just going to say, I agree, having a simpler format is great, like the FAQs, that definitely is helpful for both the injured worker and the employers, for sure. A quick resource.
And thank you, Margaret, for raising your hand. And I would ask maybe those to use that protocol of raising your hand to make it in this virtual environment a little easier. Thank you. Go ahead, Margaret.
Terry, thank you, Patrick. And Terry, I'm wondering if you can tell me what you mean by targeted communication to workers and employers. Are you meaning that the department would take an affirmative role in making sure that people who might be at this claim status would receive these communications? What does that mean?
Well, Margaret, I think I was asking for clarification because MLAC wanted the QR codes to go to the 801, but the 801 goes to the insurer. And, that's fine. But I think we're trying to figure out, and exactly what the members have said, smaller, more precise information. But we're trying to figure out, what is the most effective way to communicate with injured workers and employers. And I wasn't sure if everybody was familiar with our website or our publications to know what we had available. And the last thing I just want to say real quick, Margaret, is I will email out the website and the publications so you have a chance to look at them. Okay?
Right, I just was clarifying that what you were asking for was feedback on the content and not how the contact would be delivered specifically to either employers or workers. Okay. Thank you. And I'm sure, actually, if I could add one more thing, that I think that Sarah was, not Sarah Merrick, Sarah Deckel was particularly interested in the QR codes and had some strong thoughts about that. So Patrick, if we want to make sure that we reach out to her, maybe even directing her to this portion of the meeting today, since she could not be here today.
Good point. Thank you, Margaret, for keeping that in mind. She was interested in, and are there, if there are no other comments, right, I don't see any other hands raised. I wanted to refer back to the work plan, because the work plan is kind of what we decided was important, and there are two highlighted items. Number one is 801 form, QR code, easier access through smartphones. And so I think the thought was a QR code would help an injured worker get to something quicker. And I don't know if that's our place to do that or not. I see Sarah's got her hand raised, so maybe she's got a thought on it.
As I recall, I think wasn't one of the discussions with QR codes to make it a fillable out on, like, I just tried it with my phone. You cannot fill the 801 out from your phone, even clicking on it, going through the workers' comp site. Is there a way to make a fillable form with that QR code directly leading you there?
Yeah, good.
Co-chair.
Yes.
The 801s are, the insurer would make that fillable, I believe.
So is the point being that the WCD site that we just went through is really not the venue for anyone to be obtaining an 801 form or filling it out? That's something that would be done in a different way. This is just maybe more for informational purposes, or for someone that maybe is, for some unknown reason, being denied access to an 801 form. I don't know. Why is it on the WCD site versus not through the insurer or self-insured entity?
Oh, Chair, I'll jump in here. Sally Cohen, Workers' Compensation Division, and you're absolutely correct. So our website is providing information, general information to workers. Typically, the worker reports their injury to their employer, and the employer provides the 801 form and then forwards that on to the insurance company. We provide the general information and also to provide another avenue if the worker no longer works for that employer or is having difficulty of filing a claim through their employer. But the typical communication would be from the worker to the employer to the insurer.
So what then would be the role of MLAC in terms of giving direction? Is it more to make the form easier, or have QR codes be some sort of regulation that employers or self-insured entities or insurers make a QR code available so that it's something that's easier? Is that more the role of MLAC? Or I guess I'm just trying to figure out what our work plan item, how would we accomplish it?
And I think that's part of our question, Co-Chair, is what would be the appropriate place for a QR code to point to? Or was the intent that it would be something that the Workers' Compensation Division resources have, or was it more directed towards advice to insurers and self-insured employers?
Margaret, do you have an answer for us? Your hand is raised.
I don't have an answer. I do have another question. And that is, I am wondering why Sally does, if there is a change to the 801 form recommended, would that require a rule change?
Margaret, I don't believe so. I think it would depend on what the change was, but I don't believe so. The statute says that the director shall promulgate a standardized form. Those aren't the exact words, but
sure. Okay, thank you.
I don't believe there's a rule change needed.
And then, I guess maybe a QR code would be put on a poster, like maybe the poster that you provide to employers, that somebody could walk up in the break room and use their phone then to access it. I see nodding heads. Maybe I'm onto something. And the division does create the posters. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct, Co-Chair. We do create the poster, and yes, we could put a QR code on there. Again, we would be looking for advice on where would that QR code point to? What's the most appropriate web page for that to point to?
Thank you. All right, Ryan, I see your hand is raised.
Constrained by any political considerations. Can you, for me, I don't think.
Hey, Ryan, I'm not hearing you well. I don't know.
Me, the 5 things you would do, King, to
I'm
make
hearing someone else, I believe.
carbon neutral by 2050.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. Looks like John. I don't know. Can you hear me better though?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. So as far as the QR codes, from my understanding, I thought this was kind of a push by Scott Strickland to give injured employees or injured claimants information about a step in the process. So like, let's say a claim was heading to closure, include a QR code on the closure notice that kind of states to the employer or to the injured worker, hey, this is the link to the closure publication that you guys had up earlier. What does it mean when my claim closes? That kind of stuff. As far as the 801 though, I love Patrick's point of sticking that on the employer notice, a QR code that might link to an 801, so they have access to that. But from what I understood, it was more about providing information to the injured worker about different stages about their claim, linking to those publications essentially, if that makes sense.
I think it does, but I think to the WCD's point is, what role do they have in it? Are those publications that the employers then provide, and then maybe there are regulations about what needs to be on them or where they point to?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when a notice of closure is issued, there's standard letter language that is needed to be included in that closure, right, by the department. And I think maybe that's what they were kind of working towards was, can we include, insurers need to include this QR code somewhere within their notice of closure that then links it to, the WCD's website or some publication about that particular notice that the injured worker is getting and the information that's linked to it.
Does that seem to be direction that's helpful to WCD to move forward?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
And, the other highlighted item is required notice information, WCD looking at already. And I imagine that's what you walked us through, was the different pages that's on your website. Okay.
Co-Chair, this is actually different. This is related to our project that we have had under our modernization umbrella, where we were reviewing the required language paragraphs that are in the administrative rules for various points along the claims processing. At various points, insurers are required to send notices to workers, and in certain instances, our rules do require the exact wording to be used in those notices. We're trying to simplify those required paragraphs into more understandable, easier to digest language, and we've been working on a project to do that. As rural divisions are opened up, participants, you'll see us introducing suggestions for those simplified paragraphs, warning paragraphs and notice paragraphs. You'll see us propose easier to digest language there, and we'll hope that we'll get some good input from you all for participating in our rulemaking. So that effort is underway.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that. There's some items that are on here that are not highlighted that may relate to the website. Did you? I thought you had an excellent idea, Terry, of walking us through what's available on the website. I had seen it, but not explained in that way. Is there anything else, since we have a light agenda today? Is there any other items that anybody wants to discuss or point out? I had a question as you were making the presentation of, you're showing it to us on a computer screen, like that you're at a PC or a laptop. Whereas a lot of people are using it on their phone to access and to get this sort of information. Is all of this formatted to be visible on a phone as well, like in a different, easy to use?
Some of it is. I'm not quite sure exactly how much is mobile friendly and how much is not. I'd have to go through and compare and contrast, but I can get back to you on that, Coach Chuck.
It seems like I use my phone more and more, and I'm not that much of a techie person, but I use my phone more and more. And also like an app. Is there an app that is something like, maybe, you're somebody that's been injured and you're now for the next, I don't know, months to a year, you're going to have to interact with the work comp system. Is there an app that they could download that whatever they would need in terms of resources about what their rights are would be available for download?
So I know WCD doesn't have an app, but maybe some of our stakeholders, some of the insurers, maybe they have an app.
Are there any stakeholders on the line that can speak to that? Do they have apps that provide links to this information? I see Ryan Hearn,
Yeah. So Roseburg partners with Corbell, and they do have a Care MC app that allows the injured worker to get in touch with the insurer and obtain information. So.
And Ryan, does that app link to this sort of required information and give, information on the rights, that employees would have?
So I'm going to be honest, Co-Chair, I'm not too sure. That app is only available to injured workers. So you actually need to have a claim number to access the app. So I haven't actually had a chance to get in there and take it apart or take a look at it. But I know it exists.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
So Co-Chair, we have a SAFE employee in the room, and he said that SAFE has a worker portal, injured worker portal. So I would assume you need to have a claim number, just like Ryan said, to access that information.
Yeah. I don't know, not to put the safe worker on the spot, maybe I am a little bit. Could they explain like how does it interact with these requirements and the things that we're looking at in terms of accessibility and understandability of the information?
He's coming to the table.
This is Dan Schmeling with Safe Corporation. Similar to what Roseburg Forest Products has through Corvell, we have a My Claim app. The worker would have to have an active claim with Safe in order to access. And yes, it's a portal where they can obtain some limited information, but as the insurer, we're required to provide all of this in writing, not necessarily through an app. And so what they're accessing is those notices that we've already provided to them or are providing to them in writing through that app. And it's not a required app. They have to sign up for it and agree to use it. So
With a login and a password.
With a login and a password, and yeah.
All right, so in terms of worker access to and understandability of information, a lot of this information is about electronic, easy formats through your phone or through the computer. And I just heard a comment that said that it's a requirement that it be paper copies. I don't know if I heard that right. I don't know, is that maybe one thing that is an area of interest to MLAC to consider whether regulations could be adjusted in the modern age to allow electronic communications?
Co-Chair, this is Sally. We would welcome input at any time we have rulemaking going on any division of our rule where it requires a written communication and conversation around what written means. We would welcome those conversations.
All right. Any other comments, questions, concerns? I feel a little disadvantaged because we don't have everyone here, especially some that seemed most interested in it. I don't know. I heard from this discussion that the division sought input as to what exactly we were looking for. And we talked about a QR code being available on maybe posters, or perhaps rulemaking about how that would be available on the forms that insurers, or some sort of rule about it, because this is distributed through insurers or employers. And I also heard that there are some required notices that we'll be seeking input on later. And so I take that as being follow-up items for a future meeting. And that's what I heard. Did anybody else have anything maybe to move this forward and bring to a future meeting, or maybe present again, because there were so many missing? Margaret.
Well, in addition to what you heard, I also heard that there was an interest in having QR codes on required communications with workers, so that and those QR codes would link to more in-depth explanation of the process and their rights, and what was going to come next, and a little more in-depth explanation of the claims process. I think that's what I heard Ryan say, that I thought was quite, I really like that.
Me too. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. David.
Good morning. Just a quick comment. I know that a party that's not here are representatives from the Northwest Workers Justice Project, and I know we've recently met with them and talked about some ideas, and one is a workers' bill of rights, and I know that's something that I think after some more discussion might be an issue that comes before MLAC after discussion with the Ombuds Office and some others too, as well as I know that there is an interest in, from our discussions, and discussion about more ways of outreach, to workers on their rights. And it's something I think, again, that is a beginning discussion that will, involve a bunch of this parties, and that is something just to flag for the future to come before MLAC.
Yeah, thank you, David, for that. Ryan, did you have another?
Yeah, just a quick comment, and I'm trying to actually pull up a notice of closure here in my claim system just to confirm. But I believe there is already required WCD language in there that refers workers to the WCD website. It's just check out the workers for more information, see the WCD website, and it cites it for it. But I think a QR code would be very helpful. I just wanted to acknowledge that there's probably already language established on those types of documents about the WCD website.
Yeah. Of course, a QR code is good for when it's a hard copy piece of paper, so you can use your phone to go. But if you allowed electronic communication, there could be a link that you just clicked on it and you went right to the website, which would be even easier.
Yeah, make it easy.
Yeah. Anyway, I think perhaps there is an opportunity. Terry, you're so good at helping us stay on task with this work plan, to maybe update item number 1, and based on the discussion today, and then we could route it around through those that aren't here to see if they agree with how we update the work plan item.
Yes, and this conversation, I'm sorry, Co-Chair, this conversation has been very helpful, because I kind of felt like I wasn't quite sure where to go, but much more, you provided much more information. So Thank you.
Okay. One topic that as you were presenting it that I thought I was curious about was which of these pages do you keep like analytics about who clicks on the pages more than others? You made a comment about which brochures were more popular. I know me personally, I don't pick up brochures that much anymore. And so, but I know there are analytics on websites, you know, is there something that people are using more than others?
Yes, Co-Chair, I talked with our communications person, and I'm not sure how they do it in the internet, you know, the technical world. There's some way to track it, and my daughter does this too, and she showed me. And I'm going to use Google Analytics because that's where I've seen it on my daughter's screen. She can go through and track and say, this is very popular. Here, look, here's the table that shows, and they can actually track it to the time of day, when it's most popular. Here's the page that's getting the most hits. So, and again, I'm talking about something different than what our communication person, Autumn, told me about the publications here, but that's what I'm most familiar with. So I don't want to speak about something I don't know. So, but I know there's ways that we track our information to know that, you know, what happens if I'm injured on the job is the most popular publication that we have. So.
Thank you. Maybe that's something just for the future to offer to us is which of these rules or is the one that people are accessing the most. It might be helpful to know. All right. Anything else as it relates to the website or the information that we just were presented or the work plan? Hearing nothing, it sounds as though the December meeting is also one that potentially could be light, so I don't know. It may be another opportunity to bring forward some of this non-legislation review, you know, material. So I don't know, not to put a burden on the staff, the excellent administrative staff we have, but utilizing the time when we don't have legislation to look at is nice. All right, with that, I will move forward to the last item on the agenda is upcoming meetings, to remind that the next one is December 7th, and that is a hybrid meeting like this one. And then January 4th, the meeting will be in person in Salem. And I unfortunately have a conflict that day, so I will not be able to be there, Terry. So I apologize.
Okay.
And I have a conflict on December 7th. Just want to let the script know.
Thank you, Stacy.
All right, well, is there any other information to bring before this group, Administrator?
Not that I
Anything
can
else
think
from
of.
okay, anything else from the committee? All right, I guess I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So
I
moved.
motion. Yeah,
I'll say Margaret made the motion and Ryan seconded.
there you go.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I vote aye as well. Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you to the WCD and Terry Watson for all of your support for us. I really appreciate it. And we will see you next month.